Agarao Jr., Alvarez Jr.,
Present.
Heron, Go, Locson, Pimentel III, Tolentino, Cagas, Chipeco Jr., Hantiveros,
Present. Magandang umaga.
Marcos, Noel, Pancho, Po, Ramirez Sato, Revilla Jr., Villar, Subiri, Zamora, Almario,
Present.
Villanueva, Drilon, Advincula.
Present.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Secretary, dito po ako.
Secretary, I'm present.
Physically present, Senator Tolentino.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Secretary, Senator Go nandito rin po.
Senator Goss are also present, virtually.
Okay, with 3 members physically present, including the chair, and 18 virtually present, the existence of a quorum is hereby declared.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Majority Leader.
I move to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the meeting held on October 14, 2020, and consider the same as approved.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is hereby approved. Magandang umaga po to our esteemed members of the Commission Appointments, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are tasked to deliberate on the 49 ad interim appointments and 1 nomination of senior officers in the Armed Forces of the Philippines that were submitted to the committee's jurisdiction for its consideration. Officers, please stand up as your name is called. The ad interim appointments of the following. First on the list is Vincent Arnold O.D., the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Joel D. Aquino, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Norman A. Mutia, to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy. Edwin F. Carpio, to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy. Jonathan L. Dumlao, to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Sunny A. Ramos, to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Dennis C. Gutierrez, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Camilo A. Sadam, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Eliezer P. Valdez Jr., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Ramon P. Sagala, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Melencio W. Ragudo, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Castor O. Bahin, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Romel Alan P. Henete, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Dante T. Bermilio to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Vicente Edgardo C. de Ocampo to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Jesse R. Montoya to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Samuel G. Yunque to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Jerome Erwin S. Santiago to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Philippine Air Force. Vicente F. Flora Jr. to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Vladimir B. Kaluya to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines. Isidro Alex C. Uriquia to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Maria Teresa P. Boto to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Ella Gemma J. Taguba, the rank of Colonel, Nurse Corps. Rico O. Amaro, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Nemesio A. Escleto, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Arturo E. Junco, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Harold M. Cabunok, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Danilo E. Estrañero, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Ernest John C. Adlock, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Edgar O. Josue, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Sir Josue. Neil Alfonso R. Roldan, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Siriaco A. Lomasi Jr., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Do I pronounce it right, sir? Lomas E. Tama po. Amadeo U. Cruz, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Melvin A. Manua, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Noel M. Chu, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines. Jose Rosel R. Reduble, to the rank of Colonel, Medical Corps. Frederick G. Baradi, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines. Cesar L. Portiz, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Francis Karim E. Neri, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Reynaldo Jose A. Montoya, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Michael G. Barion, to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy. Roy L. Oncao, the rank of Colonel, Chaplain Service. Richard T. Servito, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Josue M. Caberto, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Zane B. Fernandez, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Tama po ba? Zane? Zane, sir? William George S. Cordova, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Ranulfo O. Espera, to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Benhur A. Carino, to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Juvimax R. Uy, the rank of Major General. Vener Odilon D. Mariano to the rank of Major General. Mr. Secretary, kindly report on the jurisdictional requirements and other pertinent information relative to their ad interim appointments and nomination in compliance with the new rules of the Commission and the new rules of the standing committees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors. All the appointees and the nominee have complied with the submission of the documentary requirements as provided for in Section 24, Chapter 6 of the new rules of the Commission. Their ad interim appointments and nomination were referred by the Senate President and CA Chairperson Vicente C. Soto III on July 20, 2020 and September 21, 2020 to the Committee on National Defense pursuant to Section 16, Chapter 5 of the new rules of the Commission and were published on various dates in two newspapers of general circulation and broadcast over PTB4 pursuant to Section 2, Article 2 of the new rules of the Standing Committee. This morning, your Secretariat received a letter from the Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel, J1, Major General Adriano S. Perez Jr., addressed to the committee chairman, Representative Luis John A. Ferrer IV, requesting for the waiver of personal appearances of Colonel Camilo A. Saddam and Colonel Ella Jema J. Taguba, as their RT-PCR test results show that they are positive for SARS-CoV-2, the causative agent of COVID-19, and were forthwith advised to go on quarantine. Nonetheless, Colonels Saddam and Taguba are appearing in today's hearing virtually. There is no opposition filed against any of the ad interim appointments and nomination. That is all, Mr. Chairperson, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And now, kindly administer the oath to the appointees and the nominee, including those who are appearing virtually before this committee.
Kindly all please stand and raise your right hands. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding, so help you God? Mr. Chairman, they are now all under oath.
Thank you. Kindly take your seat, sir. May we now invite Major General Juvie Max R. Uy, the most senior among the officers now under consideration, to please take the seat in front. Morning, General. If you want to, if you have an opening statement, you may proceed.
Sir, as will members of the armed forces, we are appointed by the President. Thus, it is necessary that we'll acknowledge and confirm by the people. The honorable members of the Commission appointments are the representatives of the people. Thus, it further manifests that civilian supremacy over the military. Thus, it is our constitutional duty to be subjected on this process. Morning, sir.
Thank you, General. So the floor is now open for any questions or inquiries to our members. Any member? Okay. What? Senator Tolentino, sir.
Mr. Chair, is Colonel Harold Cabunok around? Colonel Harold Cabunok.
Colonel Harold
Harold Cabunok.
Cabuno. General. You may be excused muna po, sir. Colonel, the good setter, may question lang po sa inyo.
Colonel, I'd like to congratulate you. You have 240,000 followers in your Facebook account. Is that a personal Facebook page, or is that the Philippine Army's FB page?
That is my personal Facebook page that I started when I was the Army spokesman, sir.
And you are still continuing that Facebook page.
Yes, sir.
It was not one of those FB pages that were part of the cleansing of Facebook.
No, sir. I am authentic and I am sharing truthful information that can help the armed forces of the Philippines reach out to the public.
So I would not dwell with the current issues relative to General Parlades, because he was already restrained by Secretary Lorenzana. But in your personal opinion, is it rightful for the Philippine Army to have a separate page and officers such as you to have their own personal pages that would probably serve as a multiplier in disseminating information relative to what the government is currently doing. And I'm going forward to with the indulgence, if he's listening, Secretary Lorenzana, with what several movie actresses are how they are reacting right now, because I used to handle the Metro Manila Film Festival, but I have never seen or heard from any military Facebook accounts on reactions coming from actors themselves who are members of the reserve force. I need not mention their names. So is it accurate? Is it proper and appropriate to have a separate Facebook account, separate from the organization, but linking up with what the organization is pronouncing? Your personal opinion, sir.
Yes, sir. In the military, we have a doctrine that says a commander is also a public affairs officer. It is our responsibility to tell the people what we are doing and to share correct information about the armed forces of the Philippines. And as a former commander, a staff officer, I feel it is also my obligation, using that principle, one message, many voices, that we should amplify the command message of the armed forces of the Philippines and even the strategic political messages of the government pertaining to national security. Thank you, sir.
I think in the days ahead, you might be the spokesperson of the Philippine Army.
I had been, sir, back in 2011.
When was that?
2011, sir.
So why were you transferred to another post? Promotion?
In 2013, I was designated as the chief of the civil relations group at GHQ, and it was an opportunity for me to explore more insights about the civil military operations activities of the armed forces of the Philippines.
I think that is all, Mr. Chairman. I really believe that social media should not be restricted even by the mother organization of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So as an individual, as a military officer, I think you have all the right protected by the Constitution to speak your mind, but it has to be related to what the organization is pronouncing. There has to be a limit. If you agree with me, with what you can say as part of the Philippine Army and what you can personally say, it has always to be in sync and locked in step with what the organization is saying. Do you agree with that?
That is correct, sir. We have a command message and we have to be aligned with that message. Secondly, we have to follow the rule of law. Just like in the employment of force, messaging can be harmful, and so we have to follow the rules and ensure that we share only the correct information that would help the public.
Thank you, and congratulations for being one of the more popular graduates of class 90 plus 94, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
So, in your personal opinion, Colonel Ragudo is here. I heard he was, ang dami nyo kasi, kaya hirap isa-isahin. Hindi ko na maintindihan, Mr. Chairman, kung paano ang kapal nitong folder natin. I think there is a member here of plus 1992, Colonel Ragudo. Which is better, 94 or 92?
In the PMA, the upper class is always the best.
As mo, Colonel,
When we are alone, sir, we are the best. Our class, our
kami
class.
ni Senator Bongo, class 1992 eh.
Yes, sir. The best class is
That
92,
will not
sir.
be taken against you. Again, I congratulate you for utilizing the social media in pronouncing some relevant statements for on behalf of the Philippine Army and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. So I have no further questions to Colonel Cabunok, Mr. Chair. I congratulate him for exercising his right to express under our Constitution and for being a savvy and techie user of our social media. Congratulations, Colonel Cabunok.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. And now we recognize Senator Lacson. After Senator Lacson,
Excuse me,
Senator
Senator
Amy
Cabunok?
Marcos po.
I have a follow-up question. Yes. Am I correct to assume that you opened your Facebook account while you were the head of the CMO of the Philippine Army?
When I
Colonel,
was,
before you answer, can you please at least pull down your mask para mas malinaw po.
thanks, sir.
Sige, please answer.
Yes, sir. That was on October 22, 2011, when I was designated as the Army spokesperson.
Yeah. And you just maintained it kasi you were encouraged by the number of followers.
No, sir. I realized that it is very important for us. When I studied civil military operations, particularly public affairs, I realized that it is very important that every soldier should be empowered to tell their story and to share to the people what the Army is doing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just curious because in your present position as Chief Operations Research Center, medyo hindi na relevant yung Facebook postings and accounts mo. Directly, I mean. But of course, as you said, it is also the responsibility and obligation of each and every member of the armed forces to, express, provided it is not beyond what is being implemented or followed in the AFP as an
Yes,
organization. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you po, Senator Lacson. Senator Amy, you have the floor, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. May I interpolate Major General Juvie Max Uy, please?
Thank you, Colonel. Can you invite again General Uy? Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much, General. You were conferred the Philippine Legion of Honor in 2016 for outstanding performance and accomplishment in the arrest of Abdul Basit Usman. However, there were conflicting reports on the manner by which he was killed. Perhaps we can clarify with you and understand what exactly happened, because there were doubts that he had entered an area controlled by the MILF and that this was contrary to the agreements with the MILF and the government. Is that true?
Your Honor, if you allow me, I'll answer that question on executive session, because during the time I was commander of the Army Intelligence Security Group.
I see. All right, less controversial question. The United States offered a 1 million reward for Basit Usman. Did they pay it, and to whom?
Ma'am, there were a process. Your Honor, there is a process on claiming that reward. Again, ma'am, I'll answer that on the executive session. Who is the informant to receive that reward?
But in fact, it was paid, because in the past we've had experience with Senator Lacson that the United States did not come through with the awards that were pledged, and it's In this case, you are saying, therefore, General, that the award was in fact given.
Your Honor, as I have said, there are classified informations. I'll answer that on the Chief Session.
I
Maybe a
don't,
simple, with
yes,
permission of Senator Marcos, maybe a simple yes or no
yes or
answer.
no lang. I'm not asking for the
Yeah.
names. Wala lang, kung tinupad lang nila yung pangako, yun lang. Yes or no
No,
po? No. Okay, Senator Lacson, tama po kayo. Dati, ganun din eh. Pero yung AFP, nakapag-award ng 6.3 million. Yes or no lang po?
Yes, ma'am. It was given to
Okay.
the informant.
Thank you. No further questions, and perhaps on another occasion we can hear the classified information from General Uy. Maraming salamat po. May I
Yes,
call on? Yes, Senator Lacson, please.
Senator Marcos, if I may add, maybe we should coordinate with the DFA to call out, pardon me for using that word, call out the United States through the embassy. Bakit hindi binibigay itong mga rewards as pledge
Madalas na
to the
to.
informants? And maybe we should have an inventory of all the rewards that should have been awarded to deserving informants. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I support Senator Lacson in that. Madalas-dalas na nangyayari ito. Maybe call on Major General Mariano, please.
Thank you, General Uy. General Mariano.
Yes, thank you, General Uy. Yes, General Mariano.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, General. You have an interesting job as Deputy Chief for Communications, Electronics, and Information Systems. Earlier, Colonel Cabunok was speaking about his Facebook account. Last year, it was reported that the website of the training school of Scout Rangers was hacked. And also, during the defense budget deliberations, Secretary Lorenzana explained that there are allocations for cybersecurity under the Modernization Fund for 500 million in 2020, another 500 million for 2021. What exactly are our capabilities at this point in cybersecurity po?
Ma'am, not to the details that may imply national security, but on a generic term, we have the capability for the hardware and the software, and we have the peopleware that manages our cybersecurity capability, ma'am.
Ang balita kasi puros peopleware tayo, and even for surveillance and monitoring, mahina-hina tayo. What would be the top of your wish list, General?
Ma'am, first, may I respond to your first impression about the Scout Ranger Training School? Actually,
Yes.
that is one of the issues, and it was responded accordingly in the public because the data is housed outside the premises of the secure data networks of the Philippine Army. So this is one of our efforts to ensure that all our data will be stored in our secured data farms. And as mentioned by the Secretary of National Defense, we have 1.5 million, 1.5 billion pesos earmarked for our improvements of our network. And other than that is we ensure that there is a so-called closed network. To any agency, having a closed network is the best security wherein you are not connected to the internet, which is accessible to the public domain, ma'am.
So sinasabi po ninyo na hindi mangyayari itong nangyari sa Scout Ranger pagkat wala nang outsource sa ating mga data farm. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, immediately after that, the data of that Scout Ranger were housed into the secured data farm of the Philippine Army, ma'am.
Yes, yes, it was a matter of deep concern for my brother and myself, of course, related to the Scout Rangers, in as much as 20,000 soldiers were compromised by digital attack, as it were. So sana hindi na nga mangyari at inaasahan po natin na yung 1.5 billion talagang pumasa sa budget at maibigay sa wakas sa ating mga sundalo. Thank you very much, General Mariano. Yes, General, eto na.
Again,
Yes
with
po.
your indulgence,
Yes, please,
may follow-up
please.
questions lang ako. I'm sponsoring the budget of the DND,
Yes po.
including the armed forces and of course the Philippine Army. And you have requested, and this concerns your office, your present office, you requested an additional funding of 108 million pesos to fund and develop the cyber battalion of the Philippine Army. Now, right now, meron na existing na one cyber company. And then GHQ also has a cyber group, I understand, di ba? So, my suggestion, and I already submitted my subcommittee report to the mother committee, is that mag-form na lang ng isang cyber battalion, composite, under the GHQ to service the whole armed forces of the Philippines, instead of the Philippine Army putting up their own cyber battalion, and then probably next time around we'll hear from the Philippine Air Force requesting funds for the development of their own cyber battalion, and so forth and so on, Philippine Navy, Philippine Marines. Through you, maybe you can sound of General Gapay kung pwedeng i-integrate nyo na lang under one cyber battalion under the GHQ, which is composite, composed of the different organic personnel from the three major services. Can you do that?
Sir, your indulgence, sir, actually, sir, there is a current organization, sir, following the normal AFP hierarchy.
Yes.
That the AFP Cyber Group was created for their headquarters. Then the respective major services, they have their own respective cyber units. Like in the case of the Philippine Army, it was recently activated, upgraded
company,
into a
yeah.
cyber battalion provisional, sir.
Yeah.
And there is an existing relationship, sir, between the AFP Cyber Group, command relationship rather, sir, between the AFP Cyber Group, the Major Service Cyber Group, and the Cybersecurity Group of the Communication Electronics Information System, Armed Forces of the Philippines. So eventually, sir, there will be one integrated and consolidated report. So we have attained that
Yeah.
due to the existing command relationship, sir.
Budget-wise, it will be more viable or feasible to just put up one cyber battalion for the whole armed forces. Kasi ang nire-request is 108, more than 100, a little over 108 million pesos just for the Philippine Army. So I'm just thinking kung the armed forces of the Philippines is not a very large organization unlike in other countries. You're only what? What's the personnel strength now, complement of the whole armed forces?
120.
Oh, 120,000, 150,000 probably. And each major service command magpuput up ng kanya-kanyang cyber battalion or provisional cyber battalion. Di ba mas economically wise to just organize an AFP-wide cyber battalion, composite, and it can service the entire armed forces of the Philippines. Anyway, kindly relay that information or that suggestion para hindi tayo mahirapang magpa-budget. Kasi I'm sure this will be asked on the floor in plenary when we start deliberating on the budget of the Defense Department, including the armed forces. Just relate to General Gapay.
Yes, sir. And if I may, sir, if it will already be an integrated
Yeah.
cyber unit for the AFP, it will
Yeah.
not anymore be a battalion, but probably an AFP cyber command, sir.
Yeah, AFP-wide. Di ba meron
Yes,
kayong AFP service-wide support? Ano ba?
Every wide service support unit,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
So pwedeng nandun yan. It will be under your functional grouping, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Di ba?
Yes, sir.
So, para lang maging viable kasi baka hindi lumusot eh. Sayang
Yes, sir.
naman kasi you need this. But to put up separate cyber battalions in every major service of the armed forces, I don't think it is cost effective. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Lacson. We're in full agreement that a composite cyber battalion for the entire GHQ would probably be far more realistic than individual groups for every service. May I call on Colonel De Ocampo from the Philippine Army, please?
Thank you, General Mariano. Colonel De Ocampo.
Hi, thank you, General.
Before we proceed, ma'am,
Yes.
we would like to recognize the virtual presence of Senator Joel Villanueva. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, is Colonel De Ocampo there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Colonel De Ocampo. I recall that 2 years ago during a budget hearing, the AFP Chief of Staff then, General Galvez, was asked regarding a bloated officer corps. And he said that the Air Force had natural attrition, whereas in the Army, because of the limited slots for promotion, there was a real disparity in promotions. In fact, he mentioned class 1993 of the Air Force occupying star positions, whereas their Army counterparts languished in lieutenant colonel ranks. We are in the Senate in the process of reviewing the tenure, terms, and pension systems. Given that you are the head of manpower, procurement, and attrition, do you have any ideas that you could share with us regarding this long-standing and difficult problem?
Regarding because for the Philippine Navy and the Philippine Air Force, they have a natural attrition for the
That's
officers
right.
since yes, sir. Unlike in the Army, where because of their specialization, their skill is more in demand in the outside the armed forces of the Philippines, sir. Ma'am.
Yes, but with your experience in military manpower and attrition, meron ba kayong marerecommend? Kasi hirap rin kami mag-isip eh.
Actually, sir, ma'am, there is an existing policy regarding the attrition. For each rank, we have a tenure in grade. If we will just be implementing that policy for a particular to attract a particular person when he needs his tenure in grade, we will not be having that problem, ma'am.
Can you give a specific example about its impact on the Army?
How
would that work?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Because most of the times, ma'am, we tend to give them extension for once they reach their tenure in grade, they are given another extension of 1 year for them to be promoted to the next rank. So that where lies the problem, ma'am, because in the Army we're more lenient in implementing that policy. So the tendency is to the ranks to be bloated or
I see.
for everyone to be promoted.
So ang sinasabi ninyo, i-implement lang yung tenure and grade na nandyan na at tigilan na muna itong honorific extension na usual 1 year sa Army. Medyo maluluwagan na yung officer corps. Tama po ba?
Yes, ma'am. We will just be implementing that policy, ma'am, on tenure and grade.
So, madalas ba nating ine-extend? Lalo sa Army, sabi mo, very lenient eh.
Yes, ma'am. It's been a problem, ma'am, ever since, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Colonel. That's very valuable and very simple input. We should really consider that. I think I have only last question for Captain Carpio of the Philippine Navy, please.
Salamat, Colonel.
Maraming salamat, Colonel. Thank you, Colonel, and welcome once again to Northern Luzon. Securing the Malampaya Natural Gas and Power Project is challenging by any measure, given the limited capability and inadequacy of resources of the Philippine Navy. Ano ba talaga ang magagawa natin para ma-secure itong ating natural gas to power project?
Actually, ma'am, the thrust of the Philippine Navy as of now, with regard to the Malampaya gas project, we continuously perform our duties. With regard to, we continuously perform our duties, even though we have the scarce resources in scarce resources for the conduct of patrols. But I think the Philippine Navy has done its share, or has done its job in providing the security of the Malampaya gas project.
Yes, there have been recommendations as well as conflicting media reports that given the inadequacy of our naval capabilities and resources, we should organize, mimicking the Chinese, fishing militias to be trained by the Navy Special Operations Group. Do you have any personal opinions or reactions to this?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I think that it has a security implication if I answer that, and I can have it open in a special session. No?
Okay, thank you very much, because it's important that we finally consider this, given that our fishermen are vulnerable and almost completely defenseless. Thank you very much, Captain. I'll get back to you on another occasion when you can speak more freely. Thank you, Paul. And
Mr. Chairman, with the indulgence of Senator Amy.
yes, please go ahead, Sen. Risa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead po, ma'am.
Salamat, Chairman. Just for the additional input for the consideration of the good Captain Carpio, that issue of the maritime militias actually came up in our interpellation of the budget of the Department of National Defense. And I remember telling Navy FOIC Joby Bacordo, who is an AFP official that I respect very much, when he brought up that option, that I hope the Philippine Navy will reconsider that, because I think it would be a better option to increase the capacities of the Philippine Navy as well as the Philippine Coast Guard to escort and protect our fisherfolk from harassment by the Chinese maritime militia or the armed units of any other country in the oceans, rather than arming our own fisherfolk. An additional disincentive about that might be kapag armado sila, baka lalo pa silang pag-initan ng mga Chinong naval militia. So just for the consideration of Captain Carpio. Thank you, Captain, and thank you, Senator Amy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
Teresa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Carpio. We're aware that you are one of the awarded senior officers conducting maritime patrols to protect Malampaya, and I hope we're able to do that continuously. In the meantime, I have no further questions, merely to manifest, firstly, my admiration and encouragement for Colonel Siriaco Abea Lomas Jr. of the Philippine Army. I was very encouraged by his livelihood program called Fish for Peace and his effort to expand civil-military operations. I would also like to commend Colonel Jesse Ramos Montoya for his distribution of school supplies, repair of school buildings, and efforts to get the kids back to school. That is truly inspiring. And finally, may I endorse the AFP officers today whose parents and lineage are from Northern Luzon. Dagiti nalaing, naanos, naanak ti amyanan, Apo Colonel Siriaco Lunase, Colonel Jonathan Dublao, Colonel Saddam, Colonel Taguba, Colonel Joshua, Colonel Cruz, Colonel Redoble, Colonel Baradi, Colonel Cortis, Colonel Montoya, Colonel Ongao, Colonel Caberto, and Colonel Fernandez. 13 officers, the pride of the North, pasingkedan ti kinatanok ti amyanan. Just ti Agnina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Amy. We would like to recognize the presence, the virtual presence of Senator Aquilino Pimentel III. Senator Bongo, and after Senator Bongo, Senator Risa, and after Senator Risa, Senator Bong Revilla. Senator Bongo, you have the floor. Senator Bongo, nakamute po ang inyong microphone.
Ako na ba?
Okay na po.
Mika. Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, sir.
Ako na ba? Sorry medyo puputol eh.
Okay lang po, boss.
Okay. Mr. Chair, would like to express my pwede bang pakitawag lang po si Major General Judy Max Uri.
Thank you, Captain. May I invite again General Uy. Go ahead po.
Mr. Chair, I would like to express my sincere and utmost gratitude to the 50 senior members of the armed forces whose ad interim and whose ad interim appointments and nomination will be confirmed and given consent to before us this morning. Also, let me make of record my full support for the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Major General Judy Max Ramirez Uy. Matagal ko na pong kilala at mahusay at magiting sundalo po ito. Naging Deputy Joint Task Force sa Central, sa Western Mindanao Command, sa AFP Camp sa General Basilio Navarro, Zamboanga City, which post he held concurrently with his post as Assistant Division Commander, 6 ID, sa Camp General Sionco sa Barangay Awang, Lato, Udid, Sinsuat, Maguindanao. Furthermore, I highly recommend and support the confirmation of the ad interim appointments of Colonel Noel Monencillo Tiu, who received his Bachelor of Science in a nursing degree from the Davao Doctors College in Davao, and was formerly Security Task Action Group Commander of the Presidential Security Group. And of course, Colonel Ella Gemma Jimeno Taguba and Colonel Maria Teresa Placedes Boto, or admirable women in uniform. Colonel Richard Taule Servito, Colonel Neil Alfonso Rubite Roldan, Colonel Jose Rosel Rivera Redoble, who was called to active duty in 1997 as a ward officer in Camp Panacan Station Hospital, Davao City. Colonel Cesar Lucena Portis, Colonel Roy Lagasi Ongao, Colonel Francis Karim Ela Sege Neri, Colonel Reynaldo Jose Antolin Montoya, Colonel Ciaraco Abea Lomase Jr., Colonel Edgar Ortiz Josue, Colonel Ernest Jan Canunua Hadlock o Jadlock, Colonel Zane Fernandez, Colonel Danilo Escoltura Estranerio, Colonel Ranulfo Oliver Espera, Colonel Amadeo Ulanday Cruz, Colonel William George Suela Cordova, Colonel Ben-Hur Año Carino, Colonel Harold Magallanes Cabunok, Colonel Manzano Caberto, who finished his studies in Ateneo de Davao University and is currently the Assistant Chief of Unified Command Staff Personnel of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Naval Station Felix Apolinario in Panacan. Naval Captain Michael Gonzalez Barion, Colonel Frederick de Guzman Baradi, Colonel Melvin Aquino Banwa, Colonel Rico Omnes Amaro, Colonel Joel Jomano Aquino, Colonel Samuel Gonzalez Yunque, Colonel Pensader Valdez Jr., Colonel Isidro Alex Kahukom Euriquia, Colonel Jerome Erwin Sibal Santiago, Colonel Camilo Aquino Sadam, Colonel Sani Alano Ramos, Colonel Melencio V. Ragudo, who hails from Tagum City, Davao del Norte, Navy Captain Norman Abal Mutia, Colonel Jesse Ramos Montoya, Colonel Arturo El Espulgar Junco, who was previously Division Provost Marshal of the 10th Infantry Division in Mawab, Davao de Oro, Colonel Dennis Cueto Gutierrez, Colonel Romel Alan Henete, Colonel Vicente Flora Jr., Colonel Nemesio Apud Escleto, Colonel Vincent Arnold Ongdi, Colonel Jonathan Dumlao, Colonel Vicente Edgardo Custodio de Ocampo, Navy Captain Edwin Flora Carpio, Colonel Vladimir Caluya, Colonel Dante Toscano Bermilio, and Colonel Castor Ortiz Bahin. And lastly, I support the nomination of Major General Viner Odilon de Sena Mariano, who was former Assistant Chief of Staff of Communication as well as Commanding Officer of the Signal Battalion, 10th Infantry Division in Camp Panacan in Davao City. Binanggit ko na po lahat dahil sa inyong pasasalamat namin sa inyo, sa inyong serbisyo po sa ating bayan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong katapatan at pagsiservisyo. Our country will be forever grateful to each and every one of you for your dedicated service to the Filipino people and for your continuously ensuring our safety. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Bongo.
Mr. Chair, just an inquiry.
Go ahead po.
Mr. Chair, I see virtually and I present this inquiry relevant to our newly adopted rules. The virtual presence of Colonel Camilo Sadam and Colonel Ella Taguba. May I ask from the Secretariat if the said nominees are outside the country or the reasons for their non-physical presence here? Just for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, they are in the country, but they have been tested positive for COVID. That is the reason for their non-physical appearance.
That's a valid excuse. So we wish them well, and we also would support their confirmation today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Senator Francis. Chair would like to recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could I please ask a couple of questions, again from Major General Juvie Max Uy, Mr. Chairman?
Senator. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po, Major General Uy.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, Cora.
Yes, good morning, sir. Before I ask my two questions, I just like to make of record, Mr. Chairman, that Major General Uy was awarded with the Philippine Legion of Honor Award in 2016 and was cited for assisting the then commanding general of the Philippine Army in counter-terrorism efforts that led to the arrest of Abdul Basit Batabul Usman, a Filipino bomb maker with links to the Abu Sayyaf and Jemaah Islamiyah, which Senator Aimee also asked about earlier. This particular operation was a significant accomplishment towards the campaign against international terrorism. Major General Uy was honored with a Distinguished Service Star in 2018 as commander of the Task Force Zamboanga for his successful implementation of the West Mincom's Pakighuisa Camp Plan through his unit's Unidos Zamboanga Camp Plan. His accomplishments also include the neutralization of 6 Abu Sayyaf group members, and he subsequently foiled a planned terrorist attack during the celebration of the Zamboanga City Hermosa Festival. In 2016, he was awarded with a Distinguished Service Star also for leading operations that led to the arrest of high-ranking wanted personalities. Major General Uy, I'd also like to acknowledge that per our information, nung panahon po ninyo dumami yung mga surrenderies na Abu Sayyaf group dahil sa inyong programa noon sa dating Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, kung saan nagpartner kayong mabuti sa dating Armed Governor Mujib Hataman. The first of my only 2 questions, Major General Uy. It was recently reported that members of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters or BIFF detonated a landmine in Ampatuan Town, Maguindanao Province last Friday, leaving 4 of our government troops wounded. What specific measures are being put forward, sir, to hunt the perpetrators and gain the trust of the communities around so that they do not coddle these persons who are wanted for the landmine incident? General, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, the last IED incident that happened in Central Mindanao is in last 16 October. It was the IED attacks in Central Mindanao is a favorite weapon of the terrorists to counter government efforts in addressing the security problem in Central Mindanao. Right now, ma'am, we are implementing a counter-terrorism effort in Central Mindanao, partnered by headed actually by the current governor, Honorable Governor by Maria Magundadato. We named it Agila Heaven. Agila means anak na may ginantuang layunin. And Heaven is hintuan ng violent extremism ngayon. It's a local government and military effort supported by the Autonomous Region, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. And we are involving the religious leaders in the local government units to counter the violent extremists in the area. What we have agreed is there will be no extremist believers within former Mailet camps and barangays. We agreed that they will not cuddle them so that the military could address them in certain areas where there will be no civilian population that will be affected.
Thank you, General, Mr. Chairman. And for my second and last question, how do you intend to move forward given your stature as well-versed in conflict resolution in communities with interfaith, as you mentioned, General, and cross-cultural settings after this unfortunate incident? General, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, we are moving forward. Our key ingredient here is the local government units. Most important of all is the current governor. All of us are asking questions if are we really wanted to end terrorism in Central Mindanao. With their cooperation and the support of the military, we are hoping and the Paselan model will be followed in Central Mindanao. That's all my take, Your Honor.
Thank you, General, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to congratulate you in advance, Major General Uy, for your confirmation together with the other officers here assembled. Mabuhay po kayo. I hope that in the following years of your military career, you will be able to help our people post more gains in addressing the roots of terrorism, in defeating terrorism here in the Philippines, and in bringing peace to the different communities where you will hold command and serve our country. Maraming salamat po, Major General Uy. My snappy salute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much po, Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Mr. Chair,
I would
sorry,
like to-
may I ask some more of our officers here? Unless the chairman would like to give another member of the committee their turn, but I still have some others to ask questions of, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. We will get back to you, ma'am. We would just like to recognize
Thank you,
the
Mr.
virtual
Chair.
presence of Senator Bong Revilla. Senator Bong Revilla, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry. I wish to signify my support to the ad interim appointments and nominations of the 50 senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines we have today. They have all shown remarkable gallantry and professionalism throughout their military careers. Many, if not all of them, have already received commendations for their courageous work in the battlefields against terrorists and amid encounters with lawless elements. But allow me to commend them and cite their achievements for the record. Colonel Neil Alfonso Rubite Roldan, a distinguished Service Star honoree for the conduct of operations that resulted in the neutralization of several high-value target individuals and local foreign terrorist leaders. Brigadier General Vener Odilon de Sena Mariano, who is recognized as a brilliant tactician and an expert in the field of electronics and information system. Major General Juvimax Ramirez Uy, for his involvement in successful counter-terrorism operations leading to the arrest of Basit Usman, a Filipino bomb maker who was linked to Abu Sayyaf and Jamia Islamiyah. Colonel Samuel Gonzalez Yunque, for courageously leading his unit in numerous combat operations in Lanao del Sur, Sulu, and during the Marawi siege. Hindi lang po sanay sa bakbakan sa digmaan, Mr. Chair, ang ating mga magigiting na sundalo. Tumutugon din sila sa ibang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan at mga komunidad. They actively participated in resettlement projects in the aftermath of Super Typhoon Yolanda. They distributed school supplies to thousands of grade school students in Sulu. They supported the tree planting activity in Banahaw watershed. They established a school and rebuilt homes of displaced residents in Basilan. One of our officers today, Colonel Joel Diomano Aquino of Philippine Army, even deployed a portable hands-free wash station made of recycled drums and improvised disinfecting machines to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Muli, salamat po sa inyong katapangan, kagitingan at malasakit. Nawa ay pagpatuloy nyo ang inyong mabubuting paglilingkod sa bayan at maging mabuting ehemplo kayo sa inyong kapwa sundalo, kapwa Pilipino. Sa inyo pong lahat, saludo po kami sa inyo. Mabuhay kayo. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Salamat, Senator Bong Revilla. Senator Risa Ontiveros po, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I please ask Also, just a couple of questions again of Major General Vener Mariano, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po, Major General Mariano.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Chairman, before my couple of questions, I'd just like to make of record that Major General Mariano graduated 42nd out of 135 cadets in the PMA class of 1988, so practically in the top 10. He's acknowledged the Signal Group as an expert in the fields of electronics and information system and was credited for transforming the 10th Division of the Philippine Army into a wired military camp with the internet and information network easily accessible to the soldiers. In 2011, he was awarded with a Distinguished Service Star for leading his unit into becoming a reliable and responsive communications, electronics, and information system, or CEIS. And he was also conferred with a Distinguished Service Star in 2010 for facilitating the creation of the Assistant Unified Command Staff for the CEIS system at the Unified Command level. So, General Mariano, based on your records, you're an expert in the fields of electronics and information system. So I just like to seek your expertise in this one related matter. Last September, Major General Mariano, I filed a resolution to look into the installation of cell towers inside our military camps, which stem from the MOA executed between DITO, China Telecoms, and the AFP. What do you think about the permission granted to set up towers inside our military camps, General? Is this really necessary, General, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Your Honor, ma'am. Actually, the history for the collocation of telecommunication companies to the AFP goes way back in 1992-94 when there were threats to these towers were being harassed and burned by the New People's Army. So that was the start of this history. Then, as the technology goes by, there's been a spread of telecommunications tower throughout the Philippines, and the continuous installation or rather collocation of telecommunication towers inside AFP camp is not an issue for security. For I've been involved with this collocation MOA, ma'am, for the past 13 years. With the advent of technology, if we will speak about eavesdropping, you do not need to be inside camp for a telecommunication tower to eavesdrop. As a matter of fact, based from record, there are 9,300 cell sites for Smart and almost 3,000 cell sites for Globe. And based from our recent update from DITO, they already have an initial 1,500 sites. So can you imagine if these sites would be located outside camps with the advent of technology and now the pandemic, how could a camp with military personnel and dependents communicate if these are outside the perimeters of the camp? The LTE technology that and towards going to the 5B technology, ma'am, it narrows the coverage of a particular cell site. Just like, for example, in the case of Port Bonifacio, can you imagine we have 3 globe sites to cover that 100-hectare area. So if it is outside the camp, there will be shortage on signal. And when it comes to security, if it is outside camp, the military or any armed forces unit will not have the mandate to conduct inspection. But if it is inside the camp, this is a part and specifically stated in the MOA that we have the right to conduct inspection. In fact, in all their installation, we are part of it. So we are assured that the installed equipment will not be used to eavesdrop for the information of a military camp. And as a matter of fact, one requirement for a telecommunication company is to submit a cybersecurity plan to the Department of Information Communication Technology. Once they have submitted this is a manifestation that they will not be in any way threat to national security. Again, based from the recent information we got from dito, they have already submitted their cybersecurity plan. And lastly, ma'am, really with the pandemic, it has been very useful to have co-located sites inside the camps because it helps the military, the dependents, and we are not worried about the security because we have various in place communication security infrastructure and features to our AFP communications, and some are even included as additional features in our modernization program. And this is also supplemented by policies and guidelines on what to send and what to send. So specifically in a commercial telecommunication network, you are not supposed to send classified information because we also have our secured means of communication, ma'am.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, hindi naman ako concerned at hindi ko naman hinihiling na ilabas ng armed forces natin ang mga globe at smart cell sites sa loob ng ating mga kampo. Ang particular na concern ko lamang ay yung sa dito, China Telecoms. Dahil hindi siya katulad ng Globe at Smart. Merong talagang particular na katangian nito. And this relates to my second and last question, Major General Mariano. Do you see these cell towers as potential threats, especially, at ito po yung sinasabi kong particular characteristic of dito and China Telecoms, especially since these are owned, yung 40% ng dito, yung China Telecoms, which is 100% owned by the government and the Communist Party of China, especially since these are owned by a country which has an ongoing territorial dispute with the Philippines. And given that China, any cyber security plan notwithstanding, kahit sabihin nila doon, hindi sila in effect mag-espiya sa atin, China, under its national intelligence law, can actually compel its firms to support intelligence gathering activities, General, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. That is why we have the technology now is it does not require that you have to be inside camp to conduct eavesdropping, but nevertheless, we have security features, we have CEIS units, we have the AP cyber group, we have the communication response information system service of the AFP, and the different signal units of the major services, as well as the AFP-wide service support units to ensure that their collocated towers will not be in any way used for eavesdropping because of the provisions in the MOA that we can inspect all the equipment installed in these facilities. And as a matter of fact, not once I remember in my 13 years experience with collocation with telecommunication companies that a foreigner comes into our collocated camps with telecommunication equipment, ma'am.
Thank you, General, Mr. Chairman. And I certainly hope ma-multiply pa yung ganyang tig 13 years ninyo na walang dayuhan na magta-tap in sa telecoms natin. Kaya lang mukhang masyadong nagiging kapansin-pansin yung posibilidad na iyon, kaya naitatanong din at pati doon sa ating power grid, kapag National Grid Corporation ang pag-uusapan, China din yung pumapapel doon. And just like Senator Amy mentioned earlier, may mga concerns sa ating hardware, software, kahit nga yung pinaka-industrialized countries ay binan na yung 5G technology ng China sa kanila dahil kahit sila, how many steps ahead of us sa IT ay nababahala na baka hindi nila makayanan kapag may cyber attack mula sa China gamit yung mga IT technology nila. But as she said earlier, malakas tayo sa peopleware, and it's through people, officers, officials like you, Major General Mariano, na umaasa ako. But I think I will still have to keep on raising those concerns with you as we go along, dahil kung kayo nakaka-inspire ng confidence sa akin at sa amin sa komite, for me and for others of us, nakaka-inspire ng deep and sharp concern ang China naman. But those are all just my two questions for you, Major General Mariano. Congratulations. Mabuhay po kayo. My snappy salute as well. Salamat, General. Salamat, Mr. Chairman. And then I still have...
Follow-up.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Related issue.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead po.
With the permission of Senator Riza.
Certainly, Senator Ping.
Thank you. Is the armed forces being compensated?
Yes, sir. There is an exchange of service, sir, included in the
Not
memorandum.
in pesos and centavos.
It's there is a particular, for the dito, sir, and the smart, sir, there is
Yeah,
a
and globe,
particular
of course.
standard, sir, industry standard for monetary value, but we do not get the fund, sir. It comes in
So
terms
it's
of
in the form of services.
services and equipment, sir.
Equipment.
Physically, emergency communications equipment, sir.
And it's fair to the armed forces.
Sir. It's the armed forces would submit a request on the required equipment, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lacson. Thank you, Senator Risa. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Chairman.
any
If
other-
if I may,
Go ahead po.
just a final note for Major General Mariano before I do have at least one more officer if I may question, Mr. Chairman. For Major General Mariano, yung I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, may I one more note for General Mariano?
Go ahead po.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Major General Mariano, so far ang napag-usapan po natin ay yung SMS at saka telephone calls, pero hindi pa po natin na-exhaust yung sa usapin ng internet, yung security natin vis-a-vis dito China Telecoms sa usapin ng internet. So perhaps, General Mariano, if you could furnish the committee through our chairman in writing what safeguards we have in place to prevent and to repel any cyber attacks by China via the internet, not just SMS and telephone calls. Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
another follow-up, Mr. Chairman. Another follow-up. Will you agree with me that VoIP is more secure than voice calls?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a proven fact, no?
Yes, sir.
Kasi
Because
from
it's,
data to voice, no, from voice to data to voice.
sir, it's the digital technology.
Yung
sir.
voice is vulnerable. Mas vulnerable yan sa eavesdropping.
Yes, sir. If you have the
So,
right equipment, sir.
Bibigyan ko lang ng tip ng mga kasama ko rito. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead po, Senator Risa.
Mr. Chairman, may I lastly, before just making some notes of record, lastly, may I ask just one question of Colonel Samuel Yunque, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, okay. Okay po. Thank you, General. Colonel. Mr. Secretary, can you take note of the suggestion of Senator Risa regarding the safeguards?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po, Colonel Yunque. Yes, Colonel.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Colonel, I've heard good things about you. I've heard that you are a seasoned combat veteran and that your unit fought well in the Battle of Marawi. Indeed, your records show that you were conferred a Distinguished Service Star this year for leading your unit in numerous combat operations in Lanao del Sur and Sulu during the Marawi siege. I would like to wholeheartedly commend you, sir, for your steadfast leadership and strength of character during the Battle of Marawi. If I may, Mr. Chair, before I ask my single question for Colonel Yunque, make of record that he was honored with a Distinguished Conduct Star in 2003 for his acts of courage and gallantry above and beyond the call of duty during a 3-day assault of Camp Abdurrajak in Basilan in year 2000. He and his team of snipers, dubbed the Suicide Squad, were recognized for volunteering to be part of the government forces tasked to clear highly fortified bunkers and launch the final assault on the enemy encampment. He led the Suicide Squad into vantage positions against enemy forces. He also voluntarily took over the command of an officer who was wounded during an enemy attack, while also carrying on with the assault that resulted in the clearing of an entire encampment and the neutralization of several combatants. He was conferred the Distinguished Service Star this year for what I cited in Lanao del Sur and Sulu during the Marawi siege, which resulted in the rescue of civilians and wounded personnel of the AFP and the clearing of hundreds of combatants in the area. And Mr. Chairman, Colonel Yunque also earned a Gold Cross Medal in 2018 for gallantry in action as commander during a series of military offensive operations against approximately 150 members of the local terrorist Maute group in Lanao del Sur, and was recognized for leading the assault against the Maute group's heavily fortified encampment, which led to the neutralization of Abelino Bantayao and several sub-leaders of the group, including a foreign terrorist member. Your information, Colonel Yunque, reads like para sa isang bayani. So I repeat my heartfelt commendation to you, sir. In relation to this, would you know, and this is moving forward, Colonel, would you know the current status of the people of Marawi and its rehabilitation? Colonel, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, ma'am, and thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
After my stint in Battle of Marawi, ma'am, I was assigned in Sulu to complete my tour of duty as the battalion commander. And after which, ma'am, I was assigned in headquarters. The current situation in Lanao, Resur, or Marawi specifically, ma'am, I have no direct information, or I'm not privy to that, ma'am. I don't have information now.
Thank you, Colonel, Mr. Chairman. That's all right, sir. We in the Senate counterpart here in our committee are always seeking and somehow obtaining updates about the still very sorry status of the people of Marawi and its very slow rehabilitation. Umaasa na lang po ako na lahat ng kabayanihan po ninyo, Colonel Yunque, throughout your career so far hanggang sa Battle of Marawi ay masusuklian din namin at lahat ng mga relevant agencies na ibalik yung mga internally displaced residents ng Marawi mula sa kanilang kinadidisplacean at na ma-rehabilitate yung kanilang syudad, the Islamic city of Marawi. Maraming salamat po, Colonel Yunque. My heartfelt snappy salute to you. My congratulations on your very well-deserved confirmation a little later today. Salamat po, Colonel Yunque. Salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. May I add something, ma'am?
Yes, please, Colonel, Mr. Chairman.
I can also vividly remember, ma'am, that you visited the ground
Yes, sir.
zero of the Battle of Marawi, and I was one of the tour guides when you visited ground zero, ma'am. And
Opo, Colonel.
Marawi, ma'am, is a story of patriotism, sacrifice, and the Filipino spirit that we give all for our country. And it's an honor to serve our country, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Indeed, Colonel Yunque. I'm sure everyone in this room and online shares your sentiments. You were indeed one of our overqualified tour guides. It was our honor to be guided by you and your fellow officers. And once again, for those words of yours, heartfelt congratulations, Colonel Yunque. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator
Mr.
Risa. Thank you
Chair,
very much,
may I
Colonel.
just make some last notes of record about some of the other officers here today?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to recognize Colonel Ramon P. Zagala, the spokesperson of Philippine Army, and whom I appreciated very much during our process in the Senate of investigating the killing of 4 Army officers in Jolo at the hands of 9 Philippine National Police personnel who are now, to the credit of the PNP leadership, undergoing various cases. So congratulations, mabuhay, and my snappy salute also to Colonel Sagala. Also, I'd like to recognize my fellow in the Eisenhower Fellows Association of the Philippines, Army Colonel Harold Cabunok, also Navy Captain Norman Mutia, also Navy Captain Michael Barion, whom I also heard in various conversations, Mr. Chairman, is a good guy. It's always good to know these personal points, Mr. Chairman, behind and making up the personality and the character of the officers and officials we see before us in confirmation. Also, Navy Marines Colonel Vladimir Kaluya, whom I heard is it's again a good guy, Mr. Chairman, quiet, a computer nerd, and an excellent commander. Also, Mr. Chairman, Navy Marines Colonel Noel Chu. I heard that he too is an excellent commander, fierce in battle, and conscientious and well-mannered. Sounds, Mr. Chairman, like one of our ideals of an officer and a gentleman. Also, Navy Marines Colonel Frederick Baradi, whom I heard is a good officer and can be strict when needed. So that's always a virtue in our armed forces. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to greet Air Force Colonel Jerome Irwin Santiago. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to make those points of record, though I don't have questions for the officers named. I would like to include them in my greetings for today. And to all the officers and officials before our committee, congratulations po sa inyo, mabuhay. Salamat po ng marami, Mr. Chairman.
Salamat po, Senator Risa. Any other member who wish to question?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Senator
is
Risa.
there a J1 representative present? From J1, kindly.
Can we invite
Thank you, Francis.
the J1?
This is not to question the qualification of Colonel Estranero, no? But out of curiosity, and I would like to be enlightened because this may also involve my person, no, or my position. His present position is Senior Military Advisor to Chairperson Congressman Raul C. Tupas, House Committee on National Defense and Security. Is that a TO position?
Actually, it's not a TO position as of now, sir. But we do allow in some instances assignment of officers outside the AF, sir, as senior military assistant, sir.
Okay. I asked that question because, I'm similarly situated. I'm the counterpart in the Senate. And I'm thinking, if that's a TO position, I'll start scouting for a deserving Lieutenant Colonel, senior, yet unnoticed, and detail him to my office so he can get promoted.
Sir, I
You see my
believe,
point?
yes,
So it's
sir.
not a TO position.
No, sir, but I believe
It's
when,
on DS?
yes, sir, we can consider that he is on detached service on the
So
office.
what is his qualification to get promoted to full colonel? Because I understand, sa
yes,
quota
sir.
lang.
I believe that when he was promoted, sir, he was occupying an O6 position last year,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah.
It is only now that he was detailed as a senior
After
military.
his interim
Yes, sir.
appointment,
Yes, sir.
he was detailed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Senator Acton. Senator Tolentino.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, and I think it is related to my previous query a while ago. I wish the speedy recovery of Colonel Ella Taguba as well as Colonel Camilo Sadam, and they're listening. I wish them good health and a speedy recovery. And for the record, I'd like to cite my kababayan here from Bailen, Cavite, Colonel Sani Ramos, who is here. And probably this is related to the previous queries during our last hearings of Colonel Almario, who is listening from Davao, Congressman Almario. He was looking for different pathways on how to enter, and J1 can confirm this, how to enter the armed forces. And various stories emanating from this group will attest to the different pathways of our successful career officers now in our presence, not coming from the Philippine Military Academy, but from the private or even the public sector from the ground up. And I cite Colonel Nemesio Esploto, who started as a casual employee of the engineering office of Cotabato City. So he can, that story can probably be appreciated by Congressman Almario. Colonel Tess Boto of the Dental Service. Are you around? Colonel Tess Boto just accidentally joined the armed forces by visiting a dental office recruitment center, I understand, years ago. And we have Colonel Serveto of the Air Force, of the Army, who was one of the pioneers of the Philippine Army Aviation. He started as a teacher of Marymount School in Parañaque. So these are success stories that can probably be appreciated by the good congressman from Davao, as well as Colonel Vicente Flora, who was a cash assistant of LRT years ago. Also not having that Philippine Military Academy pathway. So you started as a cash assistant of Meralco. Talagang dinaanan niyo po yon. So with this batch, I think the AFP is in good hands, Mr. Chairman, and I fully support the confirmation of all, including Colonel Ragudo of the Class 92 of the PMA. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much po,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Go ahead po, Senator Joel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm actually scheduled to ask questions, but I will no longer pursue my questions as I was listening attentively to the questions raised by our colleagues, and this representation is convinced that they are all worthy of our confirmation. But let me just give or spread into the records my full support to Major General Juvimax Uy. You know, I was supposed to ask some questions nga, Mr. Chairman, but it will only lead to crystallize how fitted he is as our Major General and worthy of our confirmation. Our good friend, I think Senator Risa made mention, Congressman Mujib Hataman, and we have known him for like we have known each other for more than almost 2 decades now, and he is commending the works of General Juvimax, and I would just like to put that on record, Mr. Chair, that I fully support this confirmation. And let me also say that our prayers are with you, Colonel Camilo and Colonel Ella. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, at we are very grateful for your service to our God and our country. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much po, Senator Joel. Any other member?
Wala na.
I think
Mr.
wala
Chairman?
na po. Okay, Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that the committee recommends to the plenary the confirmation of 49 ad interim appointments and to give its consent to one nomination of senior officers in the armed forces of the Philippines. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Chairman, if there's nothing for other matters, I'd like to move to adjourn this meeting, there being no other matters to discuss. I so move.
Okay. Any objection? On motion of the Majority Leader, there being no objection, the meeting is hereby adjourned. Congratulations po sa inyo lahat.
Let us all pause for a minute of silent prayer. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May diladang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you. The Secretary will please call the roll.
The honorable members of the Commission on Appointments. Vincola.
Present.
Agaray Jr. Almario.
Present.
Alvarez Jr.
Present.
Cagas. Tepeco Jr.
Present.
Drilon. Ferrer IV.
Present.
Heron. Go.
Present.
Hontiveros.
Present.
Lacson. Marcos.
Present.
Noel. Pancho.
Present.
Pimentel III.
Present.
Poe. Ramirez Sato.
Present.
Revilla Jr.
Present.
Tolentino.
Present.
Villanueva. Villar. Zamora. Subiri.
Present.
The chairperson is present.
With 3 members physically present and 18 virtually present, total of 21, the chair declares the existence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, may I move to dispense with the reading of the journal of the plenary session held on October 14, 2020, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Chair,
Proceed. Majority Leader.
yes, may we now proceed to consider the recommendation of the Committee on National Defense on the ad interim appointments and nomination of 50 senior officers in the Armed Forces of the Philippines. I so move.
Any objection? Hearing none, the consideration for the recommendation of the Committee on National Defense is in order.
Mr. Chair, I move that the chairperson of the Committee on National Defense, Representative Luis John Ferrer IV, be recognized.
Representative Luis John IV Ferrer, John Ferrer IV is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your Honors. This morning, your Committee on National Defense conducted a hearing to deliberate on the ad interim appointments and nomination of 50 senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. All of them proved that they possess the fitness, competence, integrity, and other qualifications to hold the ranks to which they were appointed ad interim or nominated. Thus, your committee ruled to recommend to the plenary the confirmation of the ad interim appointments and for the commission to give its consent to the nomination of these senior officers. Mr. Chairman, may I then move that the commission gives its consent to the nomination and confirms the ad interim appointments of 50 senior officers in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, namely Juvimax R. Uy to the rank of Major General.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Vener Odilon D. Mariano to the rank of Major General.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Harold M. Kabunok, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Ramon P. Sagala, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
William George S. Cordova, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Danilo E. Estraniero, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Ernest John C. Hadlock, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Vincent Arnold O. D., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Vicente Edgardo C. De Ocampo, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Jesse R. Montoya, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Cesar L. Ortiz, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Edgar O. Josue, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Bill Alfonso R. Roldan, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Seriaco A. Lomas E. Jr., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Amadeo U. Cruz, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Dennis C. Gutierrez, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Samuel G. Yunque, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Melencio W. Ragudo, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Rico O. Amaro, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Richard T. Servito, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Dante T. Bermilio, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Eleazar P. Valdez Jr., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Camilo A. Sadam, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Joel D. Aquino, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Pastor O. Bahin, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Josue M. Caberto, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Zane B. Fernandez, to the rank of Colonel. Zane B. Fernandez, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Nemesio A. Escleto, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Arturo E. Junco, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Francis Karem E. Neri to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Romel Alan P. Henete to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Reynaldo Jose A. Montoya to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Jerome Erwin S. Santiago to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Melvin A. Banwa, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Vicente F. Flora Jr. to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Norman A. Mutia to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Vladimir B. Kaluya to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Edwin F. Carpio to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Frederick G. Baradi, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Noel M. Chu to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines.
Any objection?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ontiveros recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the indulgence of our Committee on National Defense Chair, I would like to signify that Navy Marines Colonel Noel M. Chu, an excellent commander, fierce in battle, conscientious, and well-mannered. I support his confirmation, Mr. Chairman, and through him, that of all the officers here before us today. Congratulations, Colonel, and to all the officers. Mabuhay po kayo. My snappy salute. Salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comment? Any objection? Chair is none, approved.
Michael G. Barion to the rank of Captain, Philippine Navy.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Isidro Alex C. Uriquia to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Ranulfo O. Espera, the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Sunny A. Ramos to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Jose Rosel R. Reduble to the rank of Colonel, Medical Corps.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Ella Gemma J. Taguba to the rank of Colonel, Nurse Corps.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Jonathan L. Dumlao to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Maria Teresa P. Boto to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Benhur A. Carino to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
And Roy L. Ongao to the rank of Colonel, Chaplain Service.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Approved.
That's all, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Representative John Ferrer IV. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, there being no other matters to discuss, I move to adjourn.
Any objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned.
Thank you.